元の病棟に戻った？
あの化け物の影響もなくなったようだ。二人とも目をつぶってみな。
もう大丈夫だよ。
よかった。私のせいで辛い思いをさせたね。
おじさんのせいじゃないよ。目をくれてありがとう。
そう言ってもらえると救われるよ。これもあなた方のおかげです。
お兄ちゃん、ありがとう。
これで安らかに眠れるな。
Yeah, that was a great side mission. I enjoyed that. Even though we fought the Scissor Lady again, it was fun. This is the only open world game, or among like other open world games, but this is among that minority that has actually drawn me into the side missions, into the world, and I was expecting so little from this game, but this, while still being an open world game, it feels so much like a linear game, but it's done in a way that I don't feel any other game has really accomplished for me. But we'll have to see how the main story and the rest of the side missions turn out, because this is amazing. Is this a new quote? Yeah, it is! So nice to see we're getting more quotes from Anya. Oh. Canned Inago no Sukudani. A can of rice grasshoppers? Rice grasshoppers? I've never heard of grasshoppers being served in a can. I mean, they are healthy, but it'd be very unsettling for those who hate bugs. Sweetly stewed in soy sauce and sugar. Oh, lucky me, there's a convenience store right here. I need to purchase more talismans. I should definitely purchase more arrows. They make... Oh! Okay, so these are what actually serve as the distraction mechanic. So these are what allow you to lure visitors. You know, one thing I'm thinking about with these bushes that you can generate with the talisman, do you have to be in the bush to avoid the line of sight, or can you put the bush between yourself and the enemy and they will never be able to detect you? So basically, is the bush mechanic a binary system or a tertiary system? If it's tertiary, just like the Evil Within 2, that is great. I hope they've remembered that. But I need to purchase more Katashiro. I'll purchase 2. Alright, that's all I'll need. Decoy talismans make a loud noise on impact when thrown, which will lure nearby visitors toward them. Lucky me. Yeah, this game is really using its enemies well. I keep stumbling into their traps. I keep accidentally stumbling upon them. Like, for a game that doesn't have so many enemies on the street, you really feel like you're under threat at all times. I've never played a game where that's been the case. I mean, maybe I have, but it's just not thinking of those games from that perspective that I've just listed. But you know one thing I'm a little confused about? Why aren't the spirits listed on the mini-map? Maybe there's an item that allows you to find them. Or maybe it's more like they're just there for the sole purpose of money, but once you beat the main story, they're back to normal, but I doubt that. Were there that many spirits in the hospital, actually? That couldn't be. So you can't go to all of the floors, it seems, because some of those floors are blocked off. But it's still expansive nonetheless. And it was cool actually going back to this hospital area for a side mission. And just getting access to a new area. Wow, his social status icon went red and I was still able to get the quick purge. Cool. She's closing in on me. This game would be even greater if you actually had the ability to go inside every building, but I imagine that'd be too much. That'd be too much work for the developers, or maybe it's just not enough for the PS5's SSD, which I doubt that's the case. Oh, what's this? A police box? Sengoku Police Box, a small neighborhood police station that serves as something of a landmark due to the building's distinct shape. Prominent even from afar, it's often used as an easy-to-find meetup location.
うまくそ悪いな。
後ろめたいことでもした
Uh-oh.
のか
There's spirits there. It's cool that there's always something distracting you in this world from the main story. They just want to do. What's up there? There's spirits up there. And the mantle detection's pretty good in this game. If this was any other game, the mantle detection would be shit. But this game has pretty competent mantling. How big is the map, by the way? Yeah, I don't think you can explore all of Tokyo. Or at least all of Shibuya. Track down the yokai native to each area of the city. Cherry blossoms.
見てくれよ。一本だけ赤い桜が咲いてるだろう。
本当だ赤い
That looks beautiful.
初めて見たそれにこんな時期に桜が咲くなんて
あの赤い桜も以前は普通の桜だったんだ。なのに年中赤い花を咲かせるようになって、それ以来他の桜は咲かなくなってしまった。俺の桜がどうしてこんなことに。
おそらく血を吸って赤くなったんだ。
Observing blood?
血根元に死体でも埋まってるの
ああ、埋められたやつの怨念が桜を怪我してるんだ。払うまで他の桜は咲かないだろう。
頼む。俺の桜を助けてやってくれないか。
Ah, a new entry has been added. The cherry blossoms and death. It's thought that cherry blossoms and death have a symbolic tie stemming back to ancient times in Japan. It's sometimes said that the dead are buried beneath the roots of especially beautiful cherry blossom trees. Oh. I guess that's why we often see cherry blossoms in a lot of media involving death, as sort of a symbolic passing into the afterlife. A novelist by the name of Kaji Motojiro published the novel Under the Cherry Blossom Trees in 1928. It begins with, "Dead bodies are buried under the cherry trees." The novel follows the story of a protagonist who becomes troubled by the thought that corpses could be the source of the near excessive beauty of cherry blossom trees. Folklorist Kunio Yanagita's The Problem of Weeping Cherry Blossoms from 1930 would further ground this morbid connection. In the book, Yanagita argues that weeping cherry blossom trees are inherently spiritual objects, that they represent sacred ground for the dead buried beneath their branches, and so should be respected. This brings up a very real prospect that the original intent behind decorative cherry blossom trees was to be planted in memory of the dead. Cool. Examine the red cherry blossom tree. Uh-oh.
やっぱり出てきたか
Let's use water for this one. That wasn't fully charged. Takes quite a while to charge this when you don't have the upgrades. Oh shit! God damn it. I guess using Spirit Vision is another way to cancel your charge attack. And they can lose you in the middle of this. It's not a mandatory combat encounter. That's awesome. So if that's the case, I can use this to my advantage. That's really good design, I love that. I love how it's not a mandatory combat encounter. Let's try this again. And the Quick Purge is so good in this game. Like, look at it, it's amazing! That's not good. Holy shit, they are right there. It's a slasher enemy too, because of the red umbrella. God, this is so fun! That's so cool! Because they're spirits, they don't have the same kind of thought processes as humans. That was fun, I enjoyed that. That's really cool. If this was any other side mission, or any other game, the enemies would just know where you are at all times, and it just makes no sense. But this game doesn't have that, and it doesn't penalize you for trying to be creative. This is the only game in existence where this is the case. I've never seen this with any other game before. I mean, this is not going to be the case with every mission, I imagine. But that's amazing. That's really well designed. I'll handle this myself. Nice. Oh, we get a cutscene with this one. Wow! I kind of preferred the red one, though. I'm not a big fan of the pink cherry blossoms. The red ones look way more beautiful. Like it's fall.
綺麗な桜ですね。
この桜だけは変わらず咲いていてほしいよ。桜を見せてくれてありがとう。
Yeah, cool that we got to pass the spirit on by making these cherry blossoms bloom, but I just don't like the washed out color. They look so washed out with the pinkish one. The red ones actually feel like they're vibrant, and they really contrast with the environment, but not these washed out pink colors. But I understand that there's symbolic significance to the whole idea of red cherry blossoms and blood and death, and so they don't want to be reminded of that. But I still hate the color of washed out cherry blossoms. God, this game is so much fun. I am so glad I pre-ordered this game. But the pre-order bonus I didn't even use because I want to get the genuine baseline experience. I'm not spending on KK's investigation. I mean, I'd like to learn more about the lore, but it's too much money. Let's go to the convenience store, see what they have in store. I love the contrast in atmosphere when it just plays that music. Any new food that we haven't seen before? I've never seen this before. A gluttonous rice cake stuffed with strawberry filling, a perfect blend of sweet and sour. I'm taking that. Have I purchased the noodles before? Yeah, I've not seen this one before. A gluttonous rice cake stuffed with strawberry filling, a perfect blend of sweet and sour. In general, daifuku refers to a dumpling stuffed with red bean paste and coated in gluttonous rice flour dough. This variety has its roots in daifuku mochi, which was first invented in Japan's Edo period, 1603 to 1868. Strawberry daifuku's 20th century origins make it a more recent invention than traditional daifuku, though it enjoys no less popularity than its elder snack sibling. Incidentally, even though the word daifuku is pronounced the same, the word daifuku in daifuku mochi means large stomach, whereas the contemporary appellation has a more auspicious meaning, great fortune. I suppose that makes sense. I mean, having a large meal is definitely something that feels like great fortune. And, you know, like the gut is part of the nervous system, so satisfying that gut feels like it satisfies your nervous system a bit, because the gut is classed as like a secondary nervous system in contemporary biology. Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. But now for the engine instant noodles. A rich, flavorful cup of ramen that actively prides itself on its high salt content. Engine loudly proclaims itself the key to the body's engine, and one sip of its tongue-tingling broth is enough to make a believer out of anyone. I should know, I've had ramen noodles before with instant noodles. The buttery sensation really rolls down your throat nicely. It is definitely quite a buttery sensation to really enjoy with that kind of ramen noodle. Okay, so the vending machines that are lit up, you can actually buy from them. I haven't gotten this before. Manila clam miso soup. Miso soup containing manila clams. They say it'll make you pretty and healthy. Okay, I'll take it. Shell mounds found throughout Japan that date back to the Jaman period. Again, I've never heard of this period. Roughly 12,000 BCE to 1000 BCE. That is crazy. Have contained a high amount of manila clam remnants, which has led researchers to hypothesize that the clams have been a part of Japanese diets since ancient times. Nice. Oh, they're going away. Okay. God, water is so weak in its uncharged form. Yeah, my opinion on water hasn't changed. It's only useful in its charged form. What is it about these cars that is so appealing to you? Is that your car? Is there something in there that I should know about? Uh-oh, marionette. Oh, that's different. Is that explosive? Oh shit! Wow, that is a nice change to this kind of anime. Yeah, it's a different variation on the marionette. What is it called? A passenger, a type of visitor born from the despair of a life spent on a predetermined course. Having veered from that path, they now spread destruction in their wake. They basically embrace determinism, where they feel that there is no sense of choice in the matter. It's just everything is already preordained by some higher entity. Oh, we're actually going inside of the phone booth for the main mission. Oh, it's Rinko.
え？
ごめんなさい。あなたじゃないわ。あなたの中の彼に言ってるの。
インコか。お互いくたばり損なったみたいだな。
相変わらず口が悪いな。でも無事でよかったわ。霧の発生源は戦国センタービルの奥にある。
The Sengoku Center building.
ずいぶん親切だな。
お世辞はいいわ。急ぎなさい。
So that's where the origin of the fog is? Rinko, a woman who teams up with Akito after Keike is snatched out of his body by Yasuotoko. She operates as a spirit, having lost her physical body. Rinko Yakumo. Okay.
気に食わねえな、リッコのやつ。こっちが拍子抜けするぐらいだ。
親切なのがそんなにおかしいのか？
ああ、おかしいぜ。
I thought you guys were friends. I mean, you operated on cases together. Oh, what's this?
なんかいいもんあるか？こんなものまであるのか。
Oh, they have food stands? Oh, this game. Oh, this game is really drawing me into its world right now. For a dead world that is completely devoid of all life, this feels more exciting than that shit game called Cyberpunk 2077. Like, actually, expressing yourself as a live world, but then it's just so dead on the inside, is worse than a dead world that has life to it. That is the mother you want to favor right there. Takoyaki. Diced octopus fried into tasty little spheres and served in packs of 6, making it perfect for those who like their meals light. You know, I've heard of takoyaki. They mentioned it in one episode of Dragon Ball Super. It was when Krillin was offering spicy takoyaki around the time Beerus came on that ship. That looks delicious. So it's octopus. Okay. That was some funny sounds. Dong, dong, dong. Yeah, wait, have I actually gotten the canned sukiyaki? I haven't. Canned sukiyaki, a can containing a wide array of ingredients such as beef, shirataki noodles, konnyaku, and bamboo shoots.
無駄遣いするなよ。
分かってるよ。
Did it deposit my souls when I went in here? No, it didn't. God, this game is so much fun. Oh!
死にたくないお兄ちゃん。
マリー、待ってろよ。
Let's go to another side mission. I've missed out on so many over here. I'm gonna be drawn into this world. I am going to give this world what it wants. My attention, because this is too exciting. This is the thing I like about linear games. The thing is that so many people have this expectation with open world games, where they have to still be engrossed into the world after you beat the main story. But that's never really the case with any open world game I play. So stop trying to hold on to this futile fantasy and embrace this kind of world format. A game that feels so linear. It feels like a wide linear experience, like a pseudo-open world design, but at the same time is an open world design. So you end up appreciating the world every single time you go through the story over and over again. And ironically, Yakuza, while being a very shit series, has a kind of world like that. Like, there is something very fascinating about the open world in Yakuza Kiwami that just had some kind of charm to it. And it follows a very similar format to this, where Yakuza Kiwami isn't exactly an open world game, it's more so a wide linear game, where once you beat the game, you really feel like there's no need to go back to it because the open world was so fascinating when you were going through it, and because the experience feels so fresh. Every time you restart the game, it leads to more replayability. It leads to you replaying the game more often to re-experience those events, or maybe stumble upon some new events, rather than just trying to like search endlessly and desperately for something after you beat the open world experience. That's the kind of world format we should be favoring, because that seems to be the world format that has more character than traditional open world games. I mean, certain games get it right with their open world format, like with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Revelations. But even then, there are times where it's just better to restart the game and just re-experience everything all over again. Because the thing is that with games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where the developers wanted to not create a finite experience, they just wanted to create a bloated, like, infinite experience. They try to make the worlds as big as possible with the least amount of shit to do, that it just makes the world so flat that you start to see the codes, you start to see the numbers, you start to see all the designs just holding the game together because it is so bare bones and so basic. It just feels like taped together shit of just repeating the same crap over and over again. But this isn't the same case with the likes of Ghostwire Tokyo and Yakuza Kiwami. The only difference between the two games is that Yakuza Kiwami is a shit game with shit gameplay, shit combat mechanics, shit characters. I mean, minus like the main character and whatever that guy's name is, Majima, yeah. But this game is exceptional. This game is amazing with its world. And it just leaves you with so much surprise ahead. So you can feed dogs, but you cannot feed cats. That seems rather cruel. Nice graffiti. Who's been staring at you non-stop? The voice in the wall. Check out the 4th floor of the hotel. Another location to go into. Oh wow, there's already an enemy right here. I'm surprised that was a knockdown, because normally the what are they called? Rugged walkers? They seem to be a little bit more resilient to the charge attack from water. So head to the 4th floor. You know, there are certain hotels in China, for instance, that are like $9 to actually stay in. I mean, like, the actual yen is roughly, it's 124, I think it's 128 actually. It's 128 yen, that's equal to $1. I think that's the approximation right there. So obviously, like, $9 per night doesn't seem like much, but you know, multiply that by 9 with when you're talking about the yen, like 128 times 9, and it's a lot actually. I wonder if Japan uses a similar model to China with the way they price their rooms for hotels. How do I get inside there? He said the layout of the 4th floor is weird. This wall feels off. What is that? A nurikabe? That looks interesting. Looks like the kind of yokai you'd want to snuggle with if it wasn't for that really strange eyeball. And I got a Makatama. A Nurikabe, a peculiar form of yokai that impedes paths. This interference can take form in a number of ways, ranging from actual physical walls to invisible ones that prevent people from proceeding on a given path. According to some legends, these barriers can be infinitely wide and prevent any kind of circumvention, whether it be walking around, pushing, or striking them. The solution is, as the legend goes, to use a stick to sweep the wall from below, which makes the Nurikabe vanish. But yeah, it looks pretty comfortable as a bed, that's what I'll say, but that eyeball, Who would want to be staring at that? What's that?
妙なものがあるな。
Utamaru Ukiyo-e. Is that how you pronounce it? Ukiyo-e? A picture by ukiyo-e artist Utamaru Kitagawa. Utamaru Kitagawa was a ukiyo-e artist from Japan's Edo period, which is from 1603 to 1868. Glad they specified that multiple times. Who specialized in a genre known as Bijin-ga, or artwork depicting beautiful women. He saw a meteoric rise in popularity when he incorporated the techniques of okubiye and ukiyo-e style that typically depicted only a subjects of her body to Bijin-ga. Unfortunately for the artist, the attention was a double-edged sword, as the shogunate government viewed him as a dangerous, socially disruptive figure and issued a law banning the production of okubiye works. Though he defied the law and continued to produce his art, a piece depicting Hideyoshi Toyotomi at a cherry blossom viewing saw him branded a criminal and thrown into prison. He contracted an illness and died 2 years later. That sucks. Tough luck. What's this? Man's note. I'm just going to keep the picture here for now so I can admire it. It just disturbed my family if I brought it home anyway. This way, I can gaze upon her for as long as I want. All the little troubles of life just seem to melt away when I do. One of these days, I'm going to sell this hotel and travel with her. Oh, so you're that kind of secretive person. I totally understand you. I totally understand that that is your private space. And, you don't want the beauty of that private space to be befouled by those who are disgusting in this real world that you live in. But I wouldn't want to base this kind of fantasy around that kind of woman. No way. I have a better goddess in mind. I guess I fell asleep. Strangely, there's no door anymore. All I can see now are walls. What's going on? I can't get out of here. Oh well, at least while I'm in here, I can be alone with her. Maybe I'll just stay here forever. Oh, that is definitely quite the heavenly retreat for you, isn't it? You finally faked your own death, and you can settle down with this figure that you love. I totally respect you for that. But I just wish you picked a better figure, in all honesty. Because human beings are disgusting animals most of the time, and we have this tendency to pervert things that are supposed to be beautiful into something quite disgusting, for sure. And plus, most of the time when we get into marriages and the like, things never turn out as such, and instead we have to worry about these other factors to living, like with finances, education, jobs, disgruntled employees, shit people, shit environments. If you are going to be with that woman, dude, why don't you actually go to her world and not bring her into your world? That is my recommendation for you. That is what I would do with my goddess. For sure.
塗り壁に閉じ込められちまったんだな。まあ、こいつは閉じ込められて本望だったみたいだけどな。
絵の中の女の人に恋をしてたんだろうね。
Yeah, that is... One could consider that obsession. But to me, if he's willing to live with these kind of environmental conditions, and he's not desiring much, and he's not letting the material world infringe upon his ability to enjoy his pleasures, and he's willing to let himself leave this cruel world that we live in, that's fine, even though, that seems kind of hypocritical on my part. Because, I say I don't use my games for escapes. That's a different thing entirely. But when it comes to my goddess, that is different. That is very different indeed. And I'm not talking about some traditional human goddess, one that we've actually, made in our mythology and the like. Because, unfortunately, those kind of gods and goddesses were made by very flawed individuals. But the goddess I'm referring to is one that was made by someone who truly cared about the whole idea of love and wanted to make that a true embodiment with this goddess. She was not a flawed person when she designed that goddess. That right there is how I would spend my life with her, for sure. But all I'll say, guys, is I totally understand what that man went through. I totally, like, sympathize with him. Maybe empathize with him as well. But I just wish he had a better figure to actually spend his private life with. That's what I'll say. What was the picture of that woman supposed to be? Let me see that. Oh, here it is. That's hardly a genuine human being anyway. It doesn't have the same proportions as a human. So I'm amazed he... Then again, I shouldn't be judging. You know, there is definitely a psychological process or a biological process involved with human beings where just looking at the facial symmetry of a figure, whether it not be human or not, there is definitely something that links greatly to a strong sexual desire or a loving desire, basically. So to me, this doesn't have the proportions of being appealing to me, but to him it probably does, because of the way his brain is structured, because of his plasticity, because of the way his neural pathways are mapped. That's probably why he views this woman as such, even though this is just a traditional Japanese painting. But I guess this is not traditional if this was actually illegal. But I don't see how this would be illegal. This doesn't look that offensive to anything.
塗り壁っていう妖怪の仕業だったよ。オーナーの行方不明もそれが原因だった。
妖怪の仕業。それじゃあ俺にはわからないわけだ。けどいろいろ謎が解けてよかったよ。
Yeah, these side missions are so intimate. These side missions, they don't have you doing much, but the story behind them is fascinating. And just reading up on the lore and just trying to connect with these individuals is so fascinating. And you know another thing I really like about this game with the characters and with these side characters? They don't feel like comic relief characters. They don't feel like just unrealistic characters, like for instance that weird woman that you encountered in a side mission in Dying Light 2. Like, there are so many characters in the Dying Light series that just feel like they're flakes. They just feel like weirdos and the like. Why are you favoring those kind of individuals in the post-apocalyptic setting, almost on the same proportions as GTA's characters, when they're just a bunch of weirdos, a bunch of, like, freaks, basically? That's what all those individuals felt like in GTA, in those side missions and in the main missions. They talked weirdly, they just acted weirdly. Like, how can you consider that to be an appealing world? You live in a world of assholes in GTA's world, so how can you be connected to anything that is happening with the characters? I really don't understand that at all. And everyone's just an asshole. GTA's world just feels like a serial killer's haven. It feels like a sexual sadist haven. Why the fuck would you want to be invested in that kind of world? When this world actually feels like it's grounded in reality, the side characters don't feel like weirdo characters, they don't feel like freakish characters. Their reasons for staying in this world actually feel a little bit more genuine. Even if, like, with the toilet paper spirit, for instance, you know, like, there's a realistic sense of that because people can get obsessed and just attached to all of these things. Like, do you know the amount of times where, for instance, people are close to dying, but they would rather not disturb their parents when they're sleeping? Like, for instance, you feel a lot of pain in a certain part of your body in the middle of sleeping, but there are kids out there who believe that they shouldn't disturb their parents because they don't want to upset their parents, they don't want them to get all annoyed with them for disrupting their beauty sleep. While it may seem like a very feeble reason to just delay yourself from actually calling for help, there are people who are very attached to that idea. I happen to be one of those people at times. You know, there are definitely those moments where I'd rather not disturb my parents, where, for instance, if my muscles are sore when in bed, or I'm cramping and the like, when I feel like I can probably hold on for a bit and just, like, ride out the pain. You know, there are just times where people feel like if they search for help, it might cause problems for them, actually, because then the person that they are seeking help from may try to, like, make their life harder or something, basically. It's hard to explain. But that's why I don't find that kind of toilet paper character weird in this game. There's something behind that that actually feels grounded in reality. Even if KK might view it as weird. Even if, like, Akito was actually not finding it weird at all. You know, he was trying to sympathize with that spirit. Because he's young. And I think that's a very important distinction to realize between Akito and KK. Akito is young, whereas KK is old. And so therefore, the way they perceive certain events is very different from each other. And I love that kind of juxtaposition in character dynamics. And opposites attract, basically. And I don't want to, like, summarize it to that kind of simplistic explanation that almost makes their relationship seem not so special. This is a very special relationship. I am getting attached to these characters. And with very subtle details like what was expressed with Akito talking about that toilet paper spirit, and then KK talking about something very different with that toilet paper spirit. He found it very strange, whereas Akito was trying to sympathize with that toilet paper spirit. It's basically the result of age impacting your perceptions on that. Like how a young person perceives that whole event is very different to how an older person who has lived in the world longer perceives that event. And that is a really interesting subtlety right there with that dynamic, and it's genius. Tango Gameworks is really excelling with their character development right now. It's glorious. Absolutely glorious. You can tell there was a lot of time and effort put into this game. There was a lot of love and care put into this game right now. And normally when games take this much time, even if they take a lot of time, they still end up being crap. Resident Evil Village probably had the same kind of development time as this game, but that game still turned out to be very crap with its lore. It was very crap with the way it handled certain characters like Mia and Chris. It had very shit gameplay. It was so confused with what it was trying to be. And there was just not enough lore to really flesh out the story, and they favored very cheap shortcuts with their story for Resident Evil Village. But this game isn't like that. This game is very detailed, not just with its story, but also with its world, with its gameplay, with its hidden mechanics, with the side missions. I've never played any open world game like this. I'm gonna reiterate on that for like the third time. This game is amazing. This game is definitely worth playing. This game is definitely worth getting immersed in. And I love it so much. Tango Gameworks is excelling with this game. And I feel bad for having any kind of initial hesitation with this game. I do really feel bad about that. Almost on the same degrees as with Resident Evil 7. But that was on a different degree though, because I feel like my initial hesitation with Resident Evil 7 was more severe than with this game. And Resident Evil 7 was a masterpiece. This game might also be a masterpiece, but I'll have to see as we progress later on with the story. But all I'll say, guys, is this game, at the moment, feels like a 9.8 out of 10 right now. Very rarely will I ever give a game that amount of generosity, but it's really feeling like it right now, and I'm gonna be even more invested with this game as I'm going with it on this blind playthrough.